Hello and welcome to the Dr. Julia Sen Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm Dr. Julia Sen, and today I'm going to be talking to the breathwork therapist and hypnotherapist, Bev Nibbs. Bev, welcome to the clinic.
Oh, thank you. It's lovely to be here.
So Bev, I first met you as your incarnation as the Queen Bee of the Queen Bees. I'd like you to talk to us about your Queen Bees experience and how that all came about.
I started the Queen Bees in 2021, and it was as a direct result of our time through COVID, 2 lockdowns, and as a hypnotherapist, I became really, really busy, and all the clients I was seeing were women, and they were all of a certain age, over 50. I think if you look back on that time, it was an opportunity to ask some of those big questions when people were either furloughed, they were at home, they were spending more time at home, and they were discovering areas of their life they weren't happy with, or they'd lost a lot of confidence, they'd lost their kind of mojo. So yeah, I was seeing a lot of women that were really struggling with areas of their life that they weren't happy with. And it just made me form this picture that I'm just seeing a handful of these women, and there must be so many women out there that are struggling. And actually, when I looked at myself, I wasn't getting back out there like I would have imagined I would when, we were free to start going back out. I was hesitant. So I thought I need to set up a group for women that can come together, have a platform that's safe, where they can have some fun and adventure. Because I really did feel that that's what was missing. I couldn't fix everybody's problems, but I could certainly create a platform for everyone to come together and have a good time. So the Queen Bees was formed, and it just was amazing. It has been so successful. It's been going 5 years now. And as a result of it, the women have all formed so many friendships. There's lots and lots of friendship groups. There've been holidays. Queen Bees have been on holiday together. We've just done the most amazing things, lots of activities, of which you've joined in a few of them. Yes, one in particular.
The life drawing was a particular highlight. I still reflect on that.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was a great night. So yes, so the Queen Bees has been hugely successful, and I've really enjoyed it.
So now you're thinking beyond the Queen Bees, aren't you?
Yeah, so the Queen Bees is set up, it's running, and that's wonderful. Everyone's having a good time. But as a woman, I am hearing so much more from other women that there are some struggles going on regarding our next chapter in our life, which, it's a lived experience for me too. I've been through those phases myself. I think women can get to a certain age and you can often feel like the spectator of your own life rather than really living it. And I've done lots and lots of kind of research into it. I've thought about it myself. And I think when women get to a certain age, they can have spent a lifetime kind of taking care of other people, whether it's children, parents, partners, jobs. And very often they can lose sight of themselves and their identity and not always be aware of it. And I've lived that myself plenty of times. I've got children, I've got grandchildren. I really, really struggled with that empty nest time in my life because I'm a real nurturer. And I just want to help other women that are going through that next chapter open the door, be brave, because it does take a lot of courage to sometimes open that door and see what the next chapter can have in store for you. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to help women on that journey. And there'll be some women that perhaps aren't aware that they're not particularly happy. There'll be other women that will be listening thinking, oh my God, that's me. I don't know who I am anymore if I'm not playing a role. I mean, women have so many hats. If you look, they can have the mother, the daughter, the partner, the employer, the business owner. There can be so many different hats. And on the face of it, they can think, well, I should be happy. I've got everything. But there's something inside of that niggle that's saying something's missing.
I absolutely agree with all of that. My focus as a doctor is seeing people and maybe they're not taking as good care of their physical health, and trying to tell women that you describe of that kind of age, we now need to be really focusing on how we're going to stay fit, independent in our later years. And I think hand in hand with that also goes the emotional side of things. And as you say, people losing their identity and having to find themselves for the next decades going forward. So I really appreciate that you're doing that. And I think a lot of people will hear what you've said and absolutely think, yes, that's me. And maybe haven't even really thought about it until somebody presents that idea, because I think sometimes we can push these feelings to the back of our minds and think that we're not entitled to them somehow. So to hear somebody actually articulate them so well is really, really refreshing and important to hear, I think. You use breathwork and hypnotherapy, don't you, as part of that journey. Yeah. Can you talk to me about how you do that?
Yeah, so I think this is kind of the gateway. When I talk about opening the door into the next chapter, how do we do that? And for many women, I think they need the space, they need the peace, because they all have the answers themselves. You can imagine if I had the answers for everybody, I'm an overthinker at the best of times. But I want to create that space and that peace for them to be able to go on that journey. So the first part would be teaching somebody the breath work. Breathwork is absolutely the first thing you can do to change how you're feeling. Most of us are overbreathers, and if we're overbreathing, then we're often in that kind of high state of potential anxiety or stress. So if we slow it all down and take people, if I take people on a journey of slowing the breath down, teaching them how they can feel when they've shut the noise out and have a better connection to themselves. That's the first part. And then, of course, the hypnosis part, the guided visualization and meditation is really amazing for peeling back the layers and really finding what's in there. Because we are shaped by life, aren't we? We are shaped by life. And I've done it myself, moved so far away from who I am. And one of the great questions I always like to ask somebody, and I've asked it of myself, is who were you before you learnt not to be you?
So I love that.
So when you look back on who you were as perhaps a child, you know, essentially that is who you are. But life has taught us to behave differently, to fit in, to take care of other people, put other people's needs before our own, and we can kind of lose sight of who we are. And I think that's what I want to help women. It's not about reinventing yourself. It's not about creating a new persona. It's actually about getting back to who you are and owning it and enjoying it and building trust as well. I think trust is such a big thing. And I don't know if you've experienced it. I know I have. When I've wanted to make a decision, I've not made it because I haven't trusted what the outcome's going to be, and not trusted that whatever the outcome's going to be, I'll be okay.
Yes, we do a lot of things because we do certainly become more risk averse with time, not trusting our guts and going with the flow, or maybe going in the direction that somebody else or society wants to take.
Or listening to other people and their opinions. I think this intuition that we have is so powerful. It's our absolute guiding light, and we should listen to it, but we are very good at shutting it down because we often don't like what it's saying.
Yes, and the hypnotherapy, for those people who've never experienced hypnotherapy, it probably isn't what they would think of. No. So can you describe that process, how you put somebody into that state?
So I'll tell you what it isn't, first of all, because I've had a client once that almost came with a shopping list and said, you know, can you help me with this. And it was almost like they were expecting to go in for a general anaesthetic, you know, I'm going to knock you to sleep, do my magic, and then wake up in recovery and say, you're all done, off you pop. And of course, it doesn't work like that. So we form habits very quickly, and we're creatures of habit. That's why we tend to do the same things all the time. And that's great when it's a good habit, but it's not so good when it's not a good habit. And these can be limiting beliefs. They can be all sorts of things. So when they come to me and they experience hypnosis, I will take them on a very, very incredible relaxed journey so that they feel relaxed, where you can access the subconscious mind, where that becomes very sensitive and very receptive to change. So it's about accessing those old habits, old beliefs, and changing them to what it is you do want.
And thought processes as well, presumably?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the subconscious mind is like our library, and it holds on to everything that's important, all the stuff that we've learnt, the good, the bad. And sometimes it's like having a spring clean of the subconscious mind. Like you would your house, you would remove things that no longer have a purpose, and you'd create space for something new. And the same with the mind. The mind holds on to old beliefs, old habits, and I want to help women remove some of those old habits, those old beliefs that aren't serving them, and create new ones that will take them on that journey where fundamentally they want to be.
And how frequently or how many sessions do you find that the majority of women need, or is there a range?
Do you know, everybody's different. My absolute passion is to teach people to be able to self-manage and not to be reliant on coming to see a therapist, because breathwork and the visualization is something people can do on their own. So I always support people with audios that they can listen to. So there's always that they can refer to. But fundamentally, I want to teach people to be able to self-manage. I don't want people to be reliant on me, because that's not helping them.
Yes, I get that completely. I actually had hypnotherapy many, many years ago. I was studying for an ophthalmology exam, and I was lacking confidence, and I didn't really know what to do about it. I heard about hypnotherapy. So this would have been 30 years ago, something like that. And I went along and I had, I can't even remember how many sessions, a handful. And I passed my exam. So
well done.
But that whole preparation became a lot less fraught, because somehow I did manage to find some kind of inner confidence and steel from somewhere. And I had the recordings to take home so I could do this. And I had my magic word that I could use to try and bring me down into that relaxed state. So I can definitely vouch that it's very helpful. Yeah. And it helped me at that time for sure.
They say that daydreaming is so important. And as children, we often daydream, and we daydream about things that are very positive. And we don't question whether those things are achievable or realistic. We just daydream.
Yeah, there's no judgment.
There's no judgment. And I think we've lost that as we get older, and that's part of the visualization. It's just kind of free falling into, oh my God, what's possible? And like I said, we all have the answers within, and it's about creating that space that someone can enjoy that journey and find out. But it's getting rid of the old stuff that's it's like having your wings clipped and it's holding you back. And it's about taking somebody on a journey where they can feel free enough and the mind can feel open enough to discover what they want.
So breathwork is something that we didn't really hear very much about, and then more recently it seems to be talked about a lot. Yeah. And I know that initially people thought it was a little bit woo-woo perhaps, but there's good science behind it, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. So I think because of the way we live our lives, most people are living with quite a lot of stress, very busy. We're very connected to things rather than to ourselves. There has been some research done that suggests that I think it's something like 90% of people overbreathe, which means they're just shallow breathing. And that, of course, has an impact on our nervous system. And the nervous system is constantly relaying to the mind, letting us know how we feel. And that can create feelings of not feeling safe. For me, breathwork is all about the awareness, and we work with the autonomic nervous system, of which there are kind of two parts: the sympathetic, which is where we are overbreathing, where we're in that kind of fight and flight state. And I honestly believe a lot of people are in that state a lot of the time.
Well, desk work. I mean, people are hunched over their computers at their desks, and it's compressing your lungs, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
as well as what's in your mind. And so therefore you're shallow breathing. Like I said earlier, we form habits very easily. And so we can become chest breathers from very early on. And I look back in my life and I know I would have been a chest breather from a child.
So what do you mean exactly by chest breathing?
So for many of us, we just breathe into our chest. So shallow breathing. Whereas actually we've got all this capacity, we're meant to really inflate the lungs and use. So under your ribs, when you breathe in, if you put your hands under your ribs here and you were to do a nice inhale, you should feel your hands move.
Yeah.
And then as you exhale, you should feel them move again, because it's retracting back. But a lot of the time people are just breathing into here and there's no movement. So we're not using this part. And when we breathe in deeply, it's called diaphragmatic breathing. You know, it's a big ask, but that's how we're meant to be breathing most of the time. Because our shallow breathing is really for when we're in a fight and flight situation where we are faced with danger, real danger, and we move into that state. It's there to keep us safe. It alerts us and all the blood goes to the big muscles and we're preparing to fight or flee. But we're not meant to be in that all the time.
No. And I guess that increases our cortisol levels. So we kind of get that feedback loop going and then just kind of feel really road ragey.
Yeah. I mean, the body's incredible, isn't it? It has this survival mode that we need and to keep us safe. But I do honestly believe a lot of us are breathing in a way that we're always in that stress response all the time. We're on red alert and we've got so much information in our heads because we're surrounded by information, connected to things and not ourselves. And it's like, I just want to press pause.
So do you do these exercises yourself during the day when you're going about your day?
And I check in with my breath a lot because of my history of being a shallow breather. So the first time I attended a breathwork class, I was a hypnotherapist and I got invited to a breathwork class and I did one class and I phoned the lady after and I went, I have to teach this because it had such an impact on me. And I'm not saying I don't still chest breathe, but I'm aware and I recognise the signs. So when we're in that fight and flight mode, we're in a state of survival. So with breathwork, I can teach people how to come out of the sympathetic part of the nervous system and into the parasympathetic part, which is where we can feel rested, where we can feel safe, and where it can impact the rest of our physiology, slow everything down. And it's really, really important. It's so important. If I could teach the world breathwork, I would. That is so. It's the quickest thing you can do to change how you feel. And so whenever I teach breathwork in a group setting, usually everyone is kind of, oh my God, because the transition from over breathing to slowing it down is like the difference between night and day in how you feel.
Yes. You came into my department a couple of years ago and you did a breathwork demonstration and class for us in the department, and people talked about it for literally months. It was so popular. It was one big stressed group of NHS workers, you can imagine. I think people discovered that this is a thing and have been able to use that technique, so it's really helpful. Can you maybe teach us a very quick, maybe a sort of maybe going to sleep type breath work?
Well, certainly for people that suffer with insomnia, you can wake up in the night and it's kind of self-fulfilling because people will say, oh, I don't sleep very well, I wake up in the night, I can't get back to sleep. And of course that in itself is self-fulfilling.
Yes.
But the simplest, easiest breathing technique is to breathe in through your nose for 4, kind of trying to breathe in slowly for 4, but you breathe out through your mouth for 8, and you kind of have pursed lips if you're blowing through a straw, and you breathe out slowly, so twice as long as the inhalation, and you're breathing out. What you're doing is you're stimulating that vagus nerve, which will take you into that rested, that safe place. And that is a great way to go back off to sleep. And it stops you thinking about, I can't get to sleep, I can't get to sleep.
You're concentrating on your counting.
Yeah,
your
so
breath.
in for 4 through the nose and out slowly for 8. But it's the exhale. So when we're stressed, we don't exhale enough. So we're not stimulating that vagus nerve. We're not in that kind of lovely, safe, rested place.
So the next chapter is on your website. I'd have to try and say this because it's a tongue twister, dreambreathebelieve.com. I'd be really interested, why did you go down this path? Because you haven't been doing this sort of from when you left school, have you? This has been something, a passion that you discovered as your life has gone on.
Yeah.
What was it that drew you to it?
Interestingly, and I hadn't recognised this until I trained as a hypnotherapist, but my dad was really interested in hypnosis. And when we were children, we go to bed, he would try and hypnotise us.
To get you to sleep. Nice try, Dad.
Yeah, nice try. He was really ahead of his game. But then years later, I got divorced and was in not a good place. I was not good mentally, and I'd got children to support. I had, a mortgage to pay, and I was barely functioning. And I ended up being signed off work. I became poorly, I lost my voice. And, talk about the body's way of going, you've had enough, you need some help. I went to see a hypnotherapist and I had several sessions. And I'm not saying, I was then skipping into the sunset, but it gave me a different perspective on what had happened to me and what I'd been through. And I was managed to shed some of the guilt that I'd experienced. And in a very short space of time, I actually changed my job. I was in a job that I should never have been in because the job paid the bills. And I took a leap of faith and I took a job with a lot less money, but a job that really suited my personality. But I needed another income. And it just so happened that I met somebody who had trained as a hypnotherapist. And I remembered about being a child. And so I trained as a hypnotherapist and loved it.
Well, you're clearly so passionate about it. It's really lovely to hear. It's also really lovely when somebody's really found their vocation, the thing that they were kind of put here to do. And I know that in particular, helping women has been such a motivating force for you. I know also that you are also physically very active as well. Do you feel that the two things go together?
Oh yeah, I think part of well-being is obviously for both, and I always feel better when I use physical exercise, and I fall off the wagon like everybody else from time to time. And I think a lot of the work that I do is about teaching women the awareness of how they are feeling, because I think we're very good at not expressing it or not allowing it to come to the surface and just keeping it kind of, let's keep it down here.
Yes. What is it about women that makes us do that, do you think?
I know it's a big generalisation, but I do think women feel that by putting themselves first, they're being selfish. Now, where that's come from?
Social conditioning, I suppose.
Yeah, I do think that, and it absolutely isn't. It doesn't mean to say you stop looking after other people, stop caring, but it's about finding enough space for you to be able to, it's your right to be able to live life the way you want to and to fulfil your potential and your purpose.
Have you tried to instill that into your daughter?
Well, I probably learnt all this stuff a little bit too late. Okay. But yes, I do try to, but I didn't learn it until they were much older. But I do try to instill it into as many people that I come into contact with.
Yeah, well, I think you're such a great example of, how to live your life. I just love that you've turned up looking fabulous, and the earrings I'm a bit in love with.
Oh, thank you.
So, guilty pleasure, Bev. I'm sure you have one.
I'm sure I've got too many. Well, it's always been Alan Shearer or Idris Elba. Okay. I don't mind either.
You'll take whichever one comes first. That sounds fine. So it's been such a pleasure to speak to you today. I'm really excited about the next chapter and can't wait to hear about how you get on with that and all the people that you're going to help. So thank you so much for being my podcast guest today.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been lovely.
Oh, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. If you have any questions or any suggestions for future topics, please leave them in the comments below. Please like or subscribe and you'll be notified when our next podcast becomes available. See you next time.